With the quorum call.
Yes, unanimous consent to do that.
Without objection.
Okay, thank you very much. So as I understand, Senator Sanders will come after I speak. I'll talk 10 or 15 minutes, then we'll get on with the process of voting. So to the American people who may be watching, what is this all about? This is an effort by my Democratic colleagues, supported by President Biden, to pass $1.9 trillion in COVID relief through a budget process that requires only 50 votes. It goes around the idea of bipartisanship. And I would say this, I think all of us would like unity. I think President Biden has said all the right things in his inauguration. The question is, are we going to do more than talk about unity? I can understand having reconciliation used for Obamacare, for taxes. Y'all did that, we did that. Big philosophical differences, but this is the one area that there was bipartisanship up until recently. This is the one area where the Congress has been able to work together across party lines, and that's providing relief to the American people who have been long suffering under the COVID pandemic. So I find it odd that if our goal is unity, we start with the issue that has been unified up until now. That's what is a bit perplexing, because it's not like the Republican Party can't work with the Democratic Party to help the American people when it comes to COVID relief. We had a Republican president, a Democratic-controlled House, and a Republican Senate. For the last year, we've appropriated $4 trillion in COVID relief for the American people, working together. So when there was divided government, a Republican president, a Democratic-controlled House, and a Republican-controlled Senate, we're able to achieve bipartisanship in large measure, dealing with a lot of money, because we saw the problem as something worthy of bipartisanship, necessary for bipartisanship, and COVID was affecting everybody, regardless of your political persuasion. Now we find ourselves, early on in the Biden administration, abandoning that model and going forward on a partisan effort to spend $1.9 trillion with one party alone without really input from the other party. So on March 5th, 2020, we approved an $8 billion supplemental appropriation, 96-1. In March, we're just beginning to understand the nature of the COVID problem. We shut the country down pretty much in March. And as things become more clear to us, we acted, I think, responsibly. March 18th, just a couple of weeks later, we approved 98-8, $355 billion package to help families that were affected by COVID. March 25th, just about a week later, we spent $1.9 trillion in a COVID relief package, which is a massive amount of money, one of the largest expenditures in the history of the country since World War II, 96-0. So we're now talking about spending $1.9 trillion in February of 2021, and there seems to be no ability here to negotiate a package that could get another 90-plus votes, because my Democratic colleagues have chosen the reconciliation route. April 21st, 2020, by voice vote, we spent $355 billion to add more money to the Paycheck Protection Act that Senator Collins and the presiding officer worked on to help businesses who had lost their customer base. September the 30th, we had $8 billion, 84-10. December the 21st, 2020, we did an omnibus bill of $1.4 trillion funding the government, and we had money for COVID in that package, about $900 billion. That passed 92-6. That was in Christmas. Here's what I want you to understand, that we have, up to now, been able to work together to help the American people who have been suffering from COVID. We've appropriated, as I've just described, over $4 trillion. And as of this moment, 2.7 have actually been allocated. So there's over $1 trillion, 1.3 trillion that we haven't spent yet. Of the $900 billion we authorized to be spent, appropriated in December, only 20% of it's been spent. So a lot of the money is yet to be spent, and now we're going to add 1.9 trillion on top of what we've done before all the money's been spent, or most of it's been spent. We created a Federal Reserve program for mid-size and larger businesses that had a $5.7 trillion cap on it. We've done 2.6 trillion. So I think people on our side really believe that we should learn more about how the money's being spent we've already appropriated, that a $15 minimum wage increase in a COVID package is a bad idea during a COVID economy, and that's what's in this package. Most small businesses in South Carolina and throughout the country have been struggling to stay open due to lack of travel, due to mandates at the state and local level, reducing the ability to have 100% occupancy in restaurants. Tourism has really been hurt. The service sector has really been hurt. The food industry has really been hurt. Can you imagine the combined effect of having the government reduce your ability to earn money by restricting your business model, and at the same time adding a mandate to your business of maybe increasing your wages by 50%, maybe 100%. So this 1-2 punch will take out what's left of small businesses in the tourism sector and in the restaurant business. Because what we've had to do, some people say we've done too much in restricting the ability of small businesses to earn a living, but that's had an effect on their ability to generate income. Now we're combining an increase in cost of increasing wages for every business in the country to $15 an hour over time. They can't absorb that. A lot of us believe that is the wrong thing to do in a COVID economy. Maybe one day we can talk about a minimum wage increase when business can get back on its feet. But that's one of the reasons that you're going to find pretty much unified opposition on our side. So I just want the American people to know it's one thing to talk about unity, it's another thing to seek it. And you pick the one issue that we've been able to find common ground. Why you pick this, I don't know, but you have. I appreciate President Biden sitting down with 10 Republicans who wanted to find an alternative. A lot of people believe that in this package, the direct payments go to people who really are not going to spend the money because they haven't lost their job and they're making over $150,000 to $200,000 plus as a couple, that we should target direct stimulus checks to people in the lower income areas who've suffered the most. So there's a lot of concern about the nature of the $1.9 trillion package. Details do matter, but I would just say this. I can understand having a fight about health care, about taxes, but when it comes to COVID relief, we've been able in the last year to find bipartisanship for $4 trillion. And now we're abandoning that quest, and we're going to try to create a process, my Democratic colleagues are, to deal us all out on our side and pass a $1.9 trillion COVID package that I think in many ways misses the mark. So to say that I'm disappointed is an understatement. You have the right to do this. And during the campaign, we talked about what would happen if one party got in charge of everything. We predicted on the Republican side, if you have a Democratic president, Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House, that the liberal wish list is going to come roaring through the House and the Senate trying to get on President Biden's desk. To President Biden's credit, I think he ran a campaign that was more centrist, But now he has a chance as President of the United States to stand down this process and continue to talk with the Republicans, which I think there are more than 10, that would like to find an alternative to a $1.9 trillion package that we think misses the mark and is being appropriated when we haven't spent most of the money we've already appropriated. So this is a choice you make. This is a debate we're going to have. It's going to be a long day. It will go into the night. Let's try to keep good cheer about it. Understand that we all love the country. But these kind of debates are important, and the choices you make as a party will have to accept responsibility for the choices that we all make. And I would just urge my Democratic colleagues, this is one area where I've been relatively proud of the Congress. We've spent an enormous amount of money in a bipartisan fashion. Some of the most conservative members of the Senate have been voting on pretty large amounts of money because I think, generally speaking, it's been necessary. But now the vaccine is being distributed. Anything we can do to get it out faster to more people, great. Most of the money we've appropriated hasn't been spent. I would just ask that we slow down a bit. Whatever we spend in the future needs to be more targeted. And the last thing you want to do in a COVID economy is increase the cost of doing business at a time most businesses are barely hanging on in certain sectors of the economy. So I look forward to working with Senator Sanders, trying to work through the amendments. And this will be a long day, but hopefully it will be a fruitful day for the American people as you understand more about the differences that we have, and eventually maybe we can find something in common. If you asked me before the election, what are the two areas that bipartisanship would be easiest achieved, most likely to be achieved? Infrastructure, because we all have roads and bridges and ports, and COVID. So I was wrong about the COVID part, and time will tell if it matters at all. So with that, I will yield to my friend and colleague, the chairman of the committee, Senator Sanders.